You know what? There's two kinds of pain. Well, there's more than two kinds of pain, but there's one kind of pain which is regret, and there's another kind of pain which is discipline. Let's talk about regret. So, if there are things that you want to do in your life that you haven't started yet, the pain that you're going to end up with if you don't start and you don't do those things, execute on those ideas, there's going to be regret. And it's a pain that will never ever go away. Discipline is the antidote to regret. So it doesn't matter what it is that you want to do in your life, whether you know exactly what you're going to do or you've got an inkling of what it is that you should do. The discipline to start and keep going is the absolute antidote to regret. Now, you may not end up where you wanted to get to, but wherever it is that you end up, it will be a much better place than that place where you just live with regrets. And you get to the end of your life and you go, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd actually had a go at that. Hey, my name's Rod. I am getting my voice back. I got a cold. I haven't had a cold for ages. And I lost my voice. It was a lot worse yesterday, but it's a lot better today. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I talk about my journey with I started the Carnivore Diet about 100 days ago. So I do talk about that a fair bit, but I also talk about other things to do with mindset, to do with exercise, to do with fitness. I'm 52 years old, I'm a dad of 4, and I like to talk about those things. So here we are, and thanks for joining me. I've also been calling this segment the Dishwashing Philosopher because I'm actually at my sink in the kitchen and I'm doing the dishes. Now that's a coffee mug. Love this mug, it's good. It's looking a bit worn. So how's your week been? It's been a while. Oh God, I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. It's about time I had my haircut. I'm going to get a change. It's just been a bit long. It's starting to get hot here. It's 32 degrees in Sydney today, which is pretty hot considering that it's still springtime. Anyway, going to get it cut a bit shorter. I actually used to have a number 2. I'll put a picture down here and show you what it used to look like when I used to just cut number 2 all over. It was so easy. Just get up, hair's done, yay. I'm a pretty serious person, but I don't understand why people are so serious all the time. Some people really are quite serious. It just doesn't make any sense. You've got to have a sense of humor. If you don't have a sense of humor, life can be pretty fucking miserable, right? So I feel like not having a sense of humor isn't our natural way of being. It's our natural way of being to have a sense of humor. I think it's ingrained within our soul to have a sense of humor. Why do I say this? I'm going to come out of the closet about I've got another YouTube channel, which I actually started before this one, and it's called Untethered Consciousness. Now, before you go leaping over there and checking the channel out, subscribing to it, and I appreciate people who want to do that because they want to support my work, which is very nice, thank you. Let me tell you a little bit about it first and why that relates to the whole having a sense of humor thing. How I started that channel was I am fascinated by people who have had a near-death experience. So what that means is that they've literally died, like their heart has stopped, or they've nearly died for whatever reason, and they have had an experience that is not normal in our physical realm. They've gone to a place, they've gone to heaven, if you like to call it that. They've visited with God or Source, or seen Jesus or Mary. They've seen dead relatives. They went down a tunnel of light. There's all these sort of similarities, but that's mostly what I do. I interview people about those experiences. I also interview people who have out-of-body experiences, and it's my woo-woo channel. So it's really about stuff that I don't talk about here. So my point is, for those who are going to go and check that out, is that if you are genuinely interested in that, well, great, go and check it out and subscribe and what have you. But if it's not something that you're interested in, well, don't subscribe, because I really just want to make sure that the people who follow that are those who are genuinely interested in that kind of content. On to why that's relevant for having a sense of humor. I've spoken to a lot of people, and I've also watched a lot of near-death experience videos, and the thing that stands out for me is that God or Source, or whatever you like to call it, has a sense of humor. There's no doubt about it, because I've just heard it mentioned so many times that when people have gone to this other place that is not our physical reality here, they meet with an entity, or they convene with an entity that thinks that things are pretty funny. And that we take ourselves pretty seriously here, and Source or God, or whatever you like to call it, I think that's pretty hilarious. He, they, them, her has a great sense of humor. And the thing about humor is that it allows, let me get my words together here. It allows you to have a different perspective on things. It's easy to get wrapped up in things when life isn't going so great. And it's easy to start complaining about your lot in life and why does this person do this? Why is this happening to me? But when you stop taking yourself quite so seriously, then things are just a whole lot better. The circumstance has not changed at all, but your perspective and just being a bit lighter about life is extraordinarily helpful. And like I say, I think that's our natural state of being. I believe that this body that we have is a vehicle, is a shell. And the true essence of us is our soul, our spirit, and it is eternal, it lives on. And when our body is dead and used up, well, we discard that and we go on to another existence, and maybe we come back again and have a different body. That's what I believe. And if you believe that, great. If you don't, well, that's fine. You're also welcome here too. That's completely fine. I think a sense of humour is one of those things that we're endowed with, that we get to use to help us have a better experience of life, a more uplifting experience of life. So if you're doing it a bit tough at the moment, then just find a way to laugh. Find a way to see the funny side of things. And find a way to take things not quite so seriously, because you know what? When you're really serious, it's just a downer. It really is. It's a downer for yourself. And it's okay to wallow for a little bit. Wallow if you need to. But then once you're done wallowing, well, get up, get out, and just go, well, I'm still alive. I've still got family, still got friends. I'm not dead. There's plenty of things you can be happy about. So the last major video that I published was about how to get started with the carnivore diet. I was amazed at how well received that's been. So obviously a lot of people are interested in how you get started. So if you haven't seen that video, go and check it out if you want to know how I got started with that. And how am I going with that? Well, it's like I don't really have to think about it now. I don't really have to think about what I eat. Sometimes I don't just eat what is in the carnivore diet as well. That's the thing. I think it's a great framework for getting started with, say, if you're wanting to get a handle on your weight loss, or if you are wanting to get a handle on your addictions to sweet food, etc. You can totally resolve those sorts of issues by thinking of the carnivore way of eating as like a protocol to follow. And I think if you occasionally deviate from that, it doesn't end up with you like going on a binging session for the next 2 weeks on cake and ice cream, well then that's okay too. I had a glass of Prosecco yesterday with my wife April. I ended up having a couple of glasses of Prosecco, and I got a little bit carried away and ended up drinking a whole bottle over a period of time. And I don't normally do that, not even like at a birthday party. I just got a bit excited because I hadn't anything to drink for about 3 weeks. But you know what, today I'm a bit dusty, and okay, well, I did feel a bit ordinary. Didn't sleep that well. I was a bit hot during the night. And it's just a little reminder that, well, if you do that to your body, it's not going to really like it. But it's not the end of the world. If you do happen to go and like eat a slice of birthday cake at a friend's birthday party, or you do have a couple more drinks than what you intended to, and you really had decided that you weren't going to do that, well, don't get mad at yourself. Just go, okay, well, today's a new day. Let's start again. Let's just get going again. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. There was something I heard Laura Sparth say. Now, Laura Sparth, I've got a lot of respect for that lady, and she did an interview with Sean Baker recently. But she was talking about knowing your boundaries. Now, I think what I like about an elimination diet or a way of eating like carnivore is that you get to know what your boundaries are. You get to know what things are real trigger foods for you, or what situations are emotional triggers that then lead you to sort of lean on food as a crutch. And you get to know what those boundaries are. Let's say that you tend to binge on things like cheese, even though cheese is like okay as far as if you're following that sort of protocol. Well, then you know that if you have like a couple of pieces of cheese or a few slices of cheese, well, you're okay. But if you have more than that, you end up binging on the whole thing, right? Well, you know there's that boundary there, and you don't go past that boundary. Maybe it's the same with drinking alcohol. You know you can have 2, but if you have more than 2, you're going to go past that. But it's good to like test and know what those boundaries are, and then be able to say to yourself, well, that's my boundary, and if I go past that, then it's going to lead to a not very pleasant experience for me at all. So figure out what your boundaries are. Take notice when something doesn't work for you, or that like if you eat something that makes you feel terrible, then just make note of what those boundaries are, and then you just honour them going forward. Okay, just go, okay, it's a boundary. I know what that one is. I'll take note of that, and going forward, I won't cross that line again. So I've got some interesting guests coming up. I've got Kerry Mann from Homestead How. I think I'm interviewing him later this week. I've also got Lily Kane, Yeah, I'm very excited about having Lily on the channel. She won't be coming on until October, but it just goes to show. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about if you want to be a content creator on YouTube in a sec. But it just goes to show that if you want something and you ask for it, then oftentimes people will say yes. But if you don't ask, you'll never know. So you just got to be willing to actually ask. And it was like that with Lily. I heard Lily mention one time that she likes to collaborate with smaller content creators, and I'm a small content creator for sure. And so I mentioned that to her, and she said, yeah, sure, why not? So good, great. I'm excited about having her on the channel. What I like about Lily is that she has a great sense of humour. She doesn't take herself too seriously. She can be serious when she needs to be, but she does like to look at the funny side of life, and I enjoy people like that. I'm also going to be on Anita, a ketogenic woman. I'm going to be on her channel in a couple of weeks as well, and we're going to talk about, because I'm 52, we're going to talk about exercise and fitness for people that are in their 50s and what I think about that and how the carnivore diets help me mentally and with my training and whatnot as well. So I'm super excited about that because I really enjoy Anita's channel, and I've gotten a lot of inspiration from her cook videos as well, and made them into my own cook videos too. So I've got a little bit of advice for budding content creators. So a lot of people, especially when they start something like the carnivore way of eating, it's become very popular for people to create YouTube channels about that, and this is a great example, what I'm doing here. And sometimes people ask how should I get started, and my advice is the same for everyone: just get started. Like, just actually make a start, record a video, upload it. So what sort of phone, lighting, etc. Well, you don't need to. Like, I shoot all these videos on an iPhone 10, right? And I do have some better sound gear now than what I used to, but when I first started, if you go and look back at my earlier videos, it was just the iPhone 10. Wasn't any microphone, no nothing, right? So number one is just get started, start uploading things, and start to iterate. Now, what should you talk about? Like, what's popular? What should you talk about? Forget about that. Just talk about what you want to talk about, right? So if you want to talk about your experience with the carnivore diet and that's all you want to talk about, well, great, talk about that. Now, if you start that way and you decide you want to talk about some other things, like what I tend to do, then do that too. There isn't any right or wrong way. Well, actually there is. The right way is to be authentic and to actually talk about what you would like to talk about, and don't worry too much about what you think people may want to hear. If you get some ideas in your head, just write them down and then start talking. And it doesn't matter if you're cringy or if you find that you're muddling over your words or whatever. Once you start, you get better, you practice, and then interesting things will happen. If there's any of you out there that are considering starting a channel, well, I'd say, look, just start. And if you do want to get some specific advice or some specific coaching on that, have a look in the description of the video. I've got a link to a service that I have on Fiverr where I can help people with that, and I'm happy to do that, and I really enjoy that as well. And the other thing I would say is I see a lot of content creators, even really great ones, do this a lot. Don't ask people to smash on the like button. Don't ask people to subscribe to your channel. Just forget about that. If people like what you're doing, they're going to do that anyway. To me, it just seems a little bit disingenuous to actually ask people for that. And that's why I never ask. And I think now that I've mentioned it, you're probably going to do it. If you are going to actually ask people to smash on your like button, well, wait until you actually have provided a whole lot of value in what you are saying, and then say, well, if you like what I've been talking about so far and you enjoy my other content, then I'd really appreciate it if you just hit that like button. Thanks very much. And that's all you need to do. But don't launch into your video and say, hey, I'm this, and go ahead and hit the like button and click subscribe. No, don't do that. That's one thing I would say. Just start talking like you are in the middle of a conversation, and just let it go. Let's see how it goes. Do some planning if you need to about what you want to talk about. Hopefully that helps anyone who might be thinking about it. It's my hope that if you were thinking about starting your own YouTube channel, but you haven't yet, that this actually gives you some impetus to take that next step. Now, I'm also going to talk about monetization of YouTube channels in a future video. So this channel here is not actually monetized, even though I've got there's 2,200 subscribers or something like that. I don't have sufficient watch time, but once I do get to the point where the channel is monetized, I'll create a video that talks about the process that I went through, how the channel got monetized, how much money I get paid from YouTube, which I can tell you is not much, especially in the early days. And I'll also talk about my other channel as well, how that got monetized, how that works. So I think it's important because as a small content creator, as someone who's just started, you can actually make a little bit of money from YouTube, and there's different ways that you can do that. And if your dream is to be a content creator full-time in the future sometime, well, You've got to start somewhere, right? So I'm going to talk about that in future videos. Once the monetization process is done, I'll go through how you apply to the partner program, how it worked, how long it took me to get there, what I learned along the way. I want to talk a little bit about haters. Now, I generally don't pay a lot of attention to haters. If people are going to hate on, especially in the comments on YouTube channels, I don't get many, but when I do, I generally just block them. Like I just hide them from, you can hide people from the channel. But haters can be somewhat instructive as well. And the way I look at it now is that haters aren't mean. Well, some haters are mean, sure, they say mean things. But for the most part, I think that people who are haters just really aren't confident in themselves. Well, there's a whole lot of negative emotion. Maybe they're jealous. Maybe they want to start their own YouTube channel, but they haven't got the courage to do that. So instead they'll hate on other people who do what they're doing. Like one example is, I'm actually going to start screenshotting these so I can do a video about, you know, the best and the worst hater comments. One was, it's funny how some influencer learns a little bit about nutrition and all of a sudden they're an expert. And I thought that was an interesting observation. I thought, well, number one, that they think I'm an influencer, which I don't think I am. I think I've got a long way to go before that's a title I can claim. But also, who is an expert really? I mean, is an expert, no, let me say that again. Do you need to be an expert to talk about something that you're passionate about? Well, of course you bloody don't. If you're passionate about something, and even if you're just a study of one, and you've done something, such as you've decided to go and switch to eat only meat and dairy, and you've been doing that for a while, and you've had some experience about that, and like you've cured certain health conditions, well, why can't you talk about it? Who says you can't talk about that? Well, of course you can. This is called free speech. So don't let anybody tell you that, oh, just because you haven't gone and done a 10-year degree at university to learn how to be a doctor, that means that you're not qualified to actually talk about health or food or nutrition. That's bullshit. If you've had a little bit of experience then and it's made a difference for you, then you go and talk about it. And if people don't want to hear it, well, fine. Talk to somebody who may want to hear it from you. But don't let anybody tell you that just because you're not qualified means that, or that someone else isn't qualified, that means that what they're saying doesn't have any value. What everyone says has got some value, I think, and everyone has a different perspective. And I think if we're more accepting of different perspectives and different points of view, then the world would be a much better place as a result of that. I also think that some people just aren't willing to experiment on themselves. They've got to have somebody that actually tells them, well, here's the protocol, here's the reason why, this is what you need to do, follow that, don't deviate. And they don't have to think for themselves. I think, well, if you end up at the point where you can't think for yourself, or that you've just got to rely on somebody else telling you what to do, it's a road to misery. And I say that because I've been there. I've been there where I've just listened to what somebody else has said and done that only, and I've just ended up being miserable. And it's a lot harder once you've started down a path that somebody else thought was the best for you, and you've started down that path, and then you realize that you're just working yourself into a pit of misery because you're not following your own instincts. Then it's much harder to then go and regroup and then start down a path of, well, this is what I'm excited about. This is what I believe to be true for me, and I've got to start again. It's much harder to do that once you go down a road of a path where people are telling you what to do. I've seen this in some cultures where parents will say their kids should be a certain way, should study a certain thing, should work towards having a certain occupation, and they don't have any regard for what are the natural inclinations for that person. Because here's another thing I believe, I was saying before about this body is a shell, right? Inside our soul, it's the everlasting being inside. But we've also got a built-in guidance system that is absolutely foolproof. And I didn't invent this, I've read this information. This is what resonates for me, is that when you follow your highest excitement, so the thing that you're most excited about, and you keep on doing that, then success and happiness in your life is assured. It's a very, very simple formula, and not everyone agrees with it, and that's okay. But I truly believe that if you keep doing the thing that excites you and you keep following that, and sure, you've also got to make sure that your commitments to your family are met, especially if you're a parent. You can't just go chucking your job in to go and follow your bliss somewhere else, but make some room for the things that you're really excited about and allow some space for you to develop and work on those things and allow them to evolve, and you'll just live a much happier life. And everyone around you will also benefit too. Here's another video, go and watch that one.